The gala was supposed to be the highlight of the billionaire Richard Lawson's year, a place where his name would shine among polished investors and elegant guests. But fate had other plans that night when his eyes caught a small, trembling figure near the back door of the ballroom. A girl no older than 10, with wide brown eyes and braids that had come undone, clutching the hand of her little brother, who looked even younger, their clothes torn at the edges as though they had been through a storm. Richard instinctively stepped toward them despite the stares of other wealthy guests who whispered in confusion, because children like these did not belong in such places. But before anyone could stop him, the girl looked up at him with tears in her eyes and said in a shaking voice, "Please don't let Mom hurt us again." The raw desperation in her tone pierced through the billionaire's heart in a way no business deal ever had. He knelt down to their level and asked softly what happened, but the girl only shook her head, holding her brother tighter, as if silence was safer than truth. Richard knew from the bruises hidden beneath their sleeves that this was not a simple case of wandering children. And as the music of violins continued to echo in the hall, he realized he stood at a crossroads where he could either turn away like many others would, or choose a path that could cost him his reputation but save 2 innocent lives. That night he took off his tailored jacket and wrapped it around the children, ignoring the murmurs around him. His instincts as a father, long buried beneath layers of wealth and loneliness, surfaced again. Because once upon a time, he too had been a child terrified of the violence at home. His father's rage still haunted him in secret nightmares, and seeing these children was like looking at his younger self begging for rescue. So he made a decision that shocked every guest in the room. He announced that the gala would be paused and that someone call social services immediately, because these children deserve safety before any champagne toast. Silence swept across the room as people shifted uncomfortably, but Richard did not care. He lifted the boy into his arms while holding the girl's hand firmly. In that moment, he felt their trust trembling yet real. The path ahead was uncertain, filled with court custody battles and questions about why a billionaire cared for 2 kids not his own. But deep inside, Richard knew that for once he was making the kind of deal that truly mattered in life. A deal with his own conscience and with the innocent souls who had pleaded for help. What would you have done if a child looked at you with such pain and begged for protection in front of the world? The following days became a whirlwind of chaos where tabloids plastered pictures of Richard carrying the children, with headlines ranging from "Billionaire rescues orphans" to "Billionaire interferes in family affairs." Reporters camped outside his mansion demanding explanations, and lawyers warned him that involving himself could lead to years of legal battles. But Richard refused to abandon them. He hired the best child advocates in the city and pressed charges against the abusive mother whose neglect had left scars not only on their bodies but deep in their hearts. The girl, whose name was Aisha, slowly began to open up once she realized Richard would not send her back. She told him about nights spent locked in dark rooms, about the times her little brother Malik had cried from hunger, and about the cruel words their mother often hurled. Richard listened, silently swallowing his rage and promising himself that these children would never know that kind of fear again. He converted an entire wing of his estate into a child-friendly sanctuary with bright colors, toys, and tutors. But more than wealth, he gave them his time, reading bedtime stories, tucking them, and teaching Malik how to ride a bike, and letting Aisha paint her feelings on large canvases. Slowly, laughter began to replace the silence that once haunted them. Yet the world outside kept questioning his motives, wondering if a billionaire could truly care without seeking praise. Richard ignored the noise because he saw something the world could not. He saw Aisha's eyes sparkle when she finally said thank you without fear, and Malik running into his arms shouting "Daddy," as if the title belonged to him naturally. One evening, during dinner, Aisha looked at him and whispered, "You kept your promise. You didn't let her hurt us again." Richard's throat tightened as he realized that sometimes true wealth is not in numbers, but in the lives you choose to save. He signed papers to become their legal guardian, knowing the journey would be long but worth every battle. The children had found a home, not in a mansion, but in a heart willing to fight for them. And Richard had found redemption for the broken boy he once was. So I ask you this: if you had unimaginable resources and the chance to change the course of 2 children's lives forever, would you have the courage to risk everything the way Richard did?